MMS.
MMS Holdings. So you are heading.
I was actually the first employee of this company, sir, 13 years back. So I'm responsible for setting up all the HR processes, practices, everything in place.
Very good. Very
And I have around close to 20 plus years experience in HR.
good. Oh, very nice. Very nice to hear from your side.
Yes.
Hi
So,
all, Swami here.
hi, Swami.
Hello. Good
Swami is
evening.
my colleague.
Yeah. Good evening, Swami. Good evening.
So, still students are yet to join? I think they have 2 more minutes, right?
Fine. So you can
Yes,
sharply
ma'am.
start by 5 p.m. ma'am.
Okay. Ramachandran has been a wonderful coordinator with me. A lot of patience in.
Yeah. He's a
Thanks,
well.
Ramachandran.
Yeah, he's a class representative also.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah. It's a good coordinator.
Thank you, ma'am.
My pleasure. It's been really nice interacting with you.
Thank you, sir. So can we start, sir?
Yes, Ramu.
Okay, sir. So good evening to one and all present here. I, Ramachandran, on behalf of second year MA HRM DG Vaishnav College, welcome you all for today's webinar on the topic Performance Management System, a corporate perspective. Let us welcome our speaker of the day, Ms.Nandini VijaiSimha. Nandini VijaiSimha is the head HR in MMS Holdings. She has done her PGD HRM from XLRI Jamshedpur. She is an action-oriented 20 plus years experienced professional in the human capital arena. She has been partnering successfully with executive management to accelerate strategies, execution, and change, build organizational talent to fuel future growth, and enhance organizational performance and profitability. Also, she has demonstrated success in designing and implementing HR strategies and various organizational development initiatives within the company. She is a partner with management and functional teams to develop and improve system and processes, understand employee satisfaction levels through regular sensing, analyze inputs, and identify issues. She has facilitated training programs and interactive workshops, one-on-one feedback sessions, developmental planning, and performance coaching sessions. She has expertise in human capital consulting, talent management, performance management, competency creation and mapping, women empowerment coaching, organizational development change management, management training facilitation, and soft skill trainer. Today, we also have our team members in our webinar. I would like to welcome Swami Rudramurthy, Deepti Rajan, and Radhika Girimaji. Once again, I would like to welcome Ms. Nandini Vijaisimha. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Now I would like to introduce our head of the department of Human Resource Management, DG Vaishnav College, Dr. N.C. Martin. He is a highly experienced academician and has about 20 years of academic and administrative experience as professor, HOD, dean, and registrar. He did his postgraduate in labor management and PhD in labor laws from Tamil Nadu Institute of Labor Studies. He started his career as a lecturer from the same institution. He held various positions in the arts and science colleges, engineering, and media colleges. He held academic positions in various educational institutions such as Sri Chandraprabhu Jain College as an assistant professor and head of the department of MSW department. Sam's College of Engineering and Technology as a professor and HOD of MBA department. He was also the placement officer for entire division of Sam's College of Engineering and Technology. During his tenure, he successfully placed engineering and management graduates in top-notch companies of manufacturing and service sector across the country. He continued his career in St. Joseph's College of Arts and Science as a dean of academics, and LW Prasad Film School, one of the best film school in Asia, working as a registrar. He acted as a jury representing the Employers Federation of Southern India for the selection of companies for the best practices of the year 2018 to 2019. He has added number of research papers and publications to his credit, and he is expert in the subject of labor legislation and industrial relations. He has given centum results in various HR specialized subjects in the university examinations. We welcome you, sir. Uh, this meeting is recorded for educational purposes. In case of any doubts or questions, the participants can unmute themselves or type the questions in the chat box. Now I request Dr. N.C. Martin to speak a few words about the topic for the day.
Yeah, thank you, Ramchandran. A very happy to be one and all present here. And first of all, on behalf of management and principal secretary Ashok Mundra and our principal Dr. Santosh Babu, I welcome one and all to part in this wonderful webinar of this evening. So I welcome, I'm very pleased to welcome our resource person Nandini VijaiSimha, head of our India MMS Holdings, and the professors of various faculties and your students. So very pleasant to welcome you all for this webinar. The topic for the day, performance management. So I think in order to have a conceptual understanding, so let me go with, so what is your understanding on performance management? So performance management system is a mechanism for tracking the performance of employees consistently and measurably. So it allows the company, that is the organization, to ensure that the employees and the departments across the organizations are working effectively towards achieving the business strategy goals. So how performance management processes are used in organizations? So the performance management processes are often administered on a yearly or quarterly basis. So they can be administered once in every 3 months or so. So the performance management process is driven by documents such as job description and various positions required in a particular departments, and it's based on department goals and the objectives. So these performance measures such as the cost, errors, productivity, so this can be used for determining the acceptable levels of the job performance. So these processes can be used to determine the compensation such as salary, bonus, variable pay, merit pay, and increment, the pay rises. Not only that, so the process can be used to reward and recognize employees for outstanding job performances. So most of the organizations are using cloud services. So the process of performance management can be easily administered through cloud-based forms and databases. It is very useful in monitoring the performances, and also very useful in keeping tracking measures of goals, objectives. Not only that, so the cloud services are very important in gathering and collecting information from a variety of sources. For example, we can say that the performance management process may use information from individual job description as a criteria, and using combined inputs from 360-degree feedback systems and surveys, and also based on supervisor appraisal form. So these varied sources are all computer based and using the technology, and the performance management system can help and collate the organizational and required information. So in performance management system, so individual performance is linked to the organizational performance, and individual job performance criteria may also include organizational performance measures. So the organization goals became the part of the requirements for individual employees, and employees who achieve these goals are rewarded with positive reviews. So with this, I conclude and hand out the sessions to a resource person who is very prominent to share their inputs and expertise and throw much light on the topic of the performance management system. Thank you. I wish and really all the best to everyone for being part of the webinar. And over to Ramu.
Yes, sir. Dinesh will be sharing the screen, sir. Dinesh.
So can I start, Ramu?
Yes, ma'am. You can start.
Okay, so before I start, actually, I would like to extend my thanks to Dr. N.C. Martin, Dwarkadas Govardhan College, for giving me this invite to come and present to you our experiences and give you a first-hand idea of what we actually do as a performance management system in a corporate world. So thanks to Dr. Martin, we understood a little bit about what performance management is all about. But in the real world, let's understand today how we actually do it with employees. So before that, I represent MMS Holdings. We are a clinical research organization. In the sense, what we do is we help the pharma companies or the sponsor companies who conduct a lot of trials to bring out drugs into the world. We help those companies consolidate and collect their data, help them submit it in a prescribed format to FDA for approval of their drugs. So currently, pharma companies are in the news because, why, right? We're all staying at home, so waiting for that vaccine to come out. So we are also helping a couple of sponsor companies to bring out their vaccine into the industry. So let's all pray that it comes out early, right? So can we go to the next slide, please? So a brief about myself, as you see on the slide, I'm basically a master degree holder in sociology. And like Ramu already mentioned, I have an executive MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur. A little bit about, little detail about me is like I'm an empathetic people leader. I'm a certified ICF coach. I specialize in mastering in women empowerment coaching, and I have good networking skills. My experience shows that I'm good in people management, and I have close to 20 plus years of experience in HR. I have worked across diverse industries as a HR professional, and I believe that if you want to be a good professional, you generally need to start off working with the manufacturing industry, understanding the statutory and labor requirements, and learning how to handle the manufacturing sector of people, which is what I did. I started off my career with the garment export company, and I think that was a really good experience that I had. And I've worked as a placement officer with Aptech. I've worked with electronic publishing company. I have worked with iGate as their overseas recruiter. So then here I am in this company heading HR with almost 13 plus years experience with this own company. And like I mentioned earlier, I was the first employee of this company and feels really proud to be part of existing and setting up all processes, policies, and everything that a company needs in a HR. And I also work with operational teams. So this is just to prove that HR people are not just one who handle payroll and everything else. We are capable of handling technical teams also. So I handle quite a few technical teams within the organization. Next slide, please. So I'm very proud. Any HR head can work only with a great team. So this is my team. I would like a few of them will be presenting to you. So we believe in having fun along with being serious about our work. So this is my fun team. So let me take you through a little bit about what my team and who they are. Next slide, please. You know me, that's me, and that's Swami is one of my colleagues who's going to be presenting along with me today. Next slide. So I also have with me on today's call Deepti Rajan and Radhika Girimaji. They're wonderful HR folks. When they talk, you will understand what they do with me. Next slide, please. Two more colleagues of mine, Sulakshana and Tulasi. They're also part of this call listening to us today, but they're together, all of us form a great team, and we have a very great employee engagement within the company. I understand you all know what employee engagement is. Just to give it to you from a corporate perspective, employee engagement does not mean doing birthdays in the office. employee engagement actually means how much an employee feels a part of the company. So our attrition rate is very, very low and a very rare thing within our industry. We have actually stuck to less than 5% for more than 10 years continually now. So all thanks to this team of mine who have been working as great HR professionals, trying to interact really to employees, trying to understand their problems, and trying to actually reach out and give them solutions for real world problems within the company. So next slide, please. I'm now handing it over to Radhika, my colleague, who will talk about herself and also tell you a little bit about what we do. Radhika.
Hello, everyone, and I'm Radhika Girimaji. I work as an HR generalist at MMS from the past 4 years. Overall, I have 10 years of working experience in market data, financial reporting, and now in HR. Currently, at MMS, I'm handling recruitment, employee engagement, policy development and documentation, training, and a couple of other things true to my designation as a generalist. I'm also a certified psychometric test professional and a person who is familiar with POSH laws and implementation. Next slide, please. Over to you, Swami.
Hi all. So I'm Swami Rudramurthy, working as an associate manager along with my beautiful team. So I come up with 11 years of experience in HR as an HR professional. So in MMS, I've spent 10 years. My 10 years of experience is in MMS. So when my skills are like I am a part of end-to-end HR operations, and I take care of payroll. I take care of corporate insurance. I take care of corporate income tax and individual income tax works, and I take care of all the statutory related works. And apart from that, I do take care of all the statutory and labor compliances. There are a lot of labor compliances which we have to take care when we are set up as an organization. So I take care of all the labor compliance, and I'm a certified component manager.
Next slide, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dept Rajan. I work as a senior HR generalist at MMS. I've been working with MMS for more than 2.5 years now. I have 8+ years of experience in training department, and I have trained in different industries, including retail, healthcare, and now CRO. And with MMS, I have over 2.5 years of experience in HR. I've conducted and facilitated over 500 skills improvement training sessions and workshops, and I have trained over 1,000 employees across industries. If I have to talk about rewards and recognitions, I have mentioned a few rewards and recognitions there for you to read. At MMS, I currently handle training and LMS, employee engagement, policy development and documentation, admin-related tasks, QC work, and that's not the end of it, right? So HR is vast, and there are a lot of activities we do above and beyond our job description. That's a little about me. Thank you.
Radhika, can you please take over again, please?
Yeah, so that's our team, and I guess you met all of them. Two of them are not presenting with us today, but they do work with us on all these aspects. So today we want to talk a bit about performance appraisal and how it really happens in actual companies. And performance appraisal, to give you, I guess your teachers have already told you, you must have read about it, is a systematic evaluation of the performance of employees to understand their abilities for their future growth as well as the company's. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So in the corporate world, it is done in a predefined systematic way, which is decided by the management based on the industry objectives, and also it depends on the company's culture. Can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah. So performance management, all of us would have had our first stint with performance management during Christmas, during our younger days, when we all know that if you are a good child through the year, Santa gives you a gift at the end of the year. If not, you don't get anything. That's what it's all about. It's performance versus reward. And in every popular culture, we do have such stories our parents would have always told us about. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the basic purpose of a performance appraisal is to identify the employee's worth and contribution to the company. That is from the company's perspective. And from the employee's perspective, it is efforts versus reward, which is very important in keeping a employee motivated. What the important factors that we evaluate during a performance appraisal, it will depend upon the industry and a lot of other market factors as well. So for example, manufacturing industry may want to measure productivity and punctuality, which matters a lot in that industry. Whereas an advertising company may not have interest in those parameters, and they may want to measure creativity, right? So a well-rounded performance management system has to have these criteria, which are mentioned in the picture there. Setting performance goals, delegating responsibilities, coaching for commitment, motivating, evaluating, and planning a proper career development for the employee. PMS systems have evolved a lot over the years. There have been a lot of changes, improvements, and additions, which have helped it make a well-rounded system for almost all kinds of industries to follow. In terms of time period, earlier it used to be only annual appraisals. Then they started doing half yearly, quarterly. Now many companies have even adopted a continuous assessment like your colleges, where every project an employee works on is being appraised and is being evaluated. In terms of the appraiser itself, earlier only supervisors used to appraise their subordinates, and there used to be no one else used to be involved in the process. Nowadays we have 360-degree feedbacks, wherein even the teammates evaluate and give feedback about their supervisors. Peers, that is people in the same team, evaluate each other, and even skip level supervisors are also involved in this process. In terms of eliminating bias, which is a very, very important thing, earlier things used to be, there was a lot of scope for bias and favoritism. Over the years, these things have been eliminated, wherein the newer systems incorporate competency-based, which we will speak to you about a little later in the session, and goals based on goals. So there is a very limited scope for bias or favoritism. And of course, it's still evolving and things will keep changing. And the ultimate goal is to have a well-rounded approach to develop an individual's capability to contribute to the business goals of the company. That is what we should all be looking at, and that is the main objective of this system. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the first appraisal any employee has to undergo when they join a company is the probationary appraisal. Probationary period, as you must know, is the period between the time period between an employee joins and between until they are confirmed. In India, we don't have any particular law as to how many days this should be. Usually, it is about 3 to 6 months, depending on the industry. So after the said period, which will be mentioned in the initial offer letter, the HR sends out a confirmation due notice to the team. The supervisors and the concerned employee meet up to discuss how the performance was during the probationary period. And they also set the goals and expectations for the time period from the confirmation time till the next appraisal cycle. So if there is any calibration required, that means to say that the employee also has to understand and fully accept the goals that have been set for them. So if there is any calibration required, if they do that as well. And then the suggestion to confirm or not will be sent to the head of the department or the management. For a probationary appraisal, there can be 3 outcomes. One is a positive outcome where the employee is confirmed with full benefits. Most of the time, employees under probation are not eligible for all the benefits from the company. So after confirmation, they'll be fully eligible. The other one would be if the performance is not very good, but the supervisor sees promise in that particular person and sees that there is potential with a little bit of training, we can have them on board. They extend the probation period, put them on a performance improvement plan, and the time period is mentioned as to how long they want to extend it for. The third option will be termination if the performance is very bad and they don't see any scope for development. And also sometimes if the person is not a good fit for the organization or the culture of the organization, then we will have to let the employee go, which is sad, but it is also a win-win for both, because then they can find a better opportunity for themselves. Can I have the next slide, please? So to document all this and have it on paper, we have a probationary appraisal form. Some of the most important criteria there will be the name, designation of the employee, name and designation of the appraiser who is doing the appraisal, the period of the appraisal, and attributes as to what we want to rate them on. Again, punctuality, ability to learn, or something more quantitative for a salesperson. It could be numbers, targets that were already earlier mentioned to that person. Expectations or roadmap, that is the goals for the next coming up time period. And the action plan, which is very important. Action plan is what the supervisor and the organization can do to support the employee in achieving the goals that have been set for them. And a final recommendation to HR as to what we want to do with this particular employee, whether we want to confirm or not. Over to you, Deepti.
Thanks, Radhika. So when we're talking about the permanent employees, if we have to look at the performance management as a system, this is how it would look like. So we have the input, which includes an employee's capabilities and expectations. In fact, when we talk about hiring an employee and looking at their job description, this is where we define all these, right? And expectations are also set at the point where the reporting manager and the reportees sit together, have a discussion, and decide, okay, this is the expectation out of you. Next comes the process wherein the employee performs the work activities. And of course, when they perform the activities, there is an output, which would be the performance given by them. Now, based on this output, like Radhika had mentioned, there would be rewards and recognitions if they've done really well. And how is this decided? It is decided based on the performance tracking. So their performance would be tracked not just at the end of the year, right? It would be done periodically, and that is when it's decided whether they've performed up to the mark or not. So either ways, another process that's always a part of this system is feedback. There is continuous feedback given to the employee on their work activities, and this is again something that the employee takes back and again works on while again working on the activities the next time around, which is why it's a circle, right? Next slide, please. All right, so here's an example for measuring performance, and it's a question for you. So please read and listen carefully. So we have Ms. Sheetal who isn't very happy, right? She has Mr. Saxena who was hired as a part of her team a year back. Now, Ms. Sheetal feels that Mr. Saxena is not able to perform all the tasks that is required of him as is desired by Ms. Sheetal. She decides to talk to Mr. Saxena about it. Now, how will she measure Mr. Saxena's performance against what he was required to do and show him where he stands? What do you think are the different criteria that she would use?
You can either answer here or put it on chat. And it would be nice if all of you participate, because this is part of your subject, right?
So any answers, guys?
Ma'am, maybe like circulating the feedback form towards there and finding out the work where she's lacking, and that can help her to find out what exact training must be given towards her. So just in a suggestion, maybe that can be done.
Okay, you've definitely given the right point, but it's one of the middle steps.
Oh, okay.
What about the others? Okay, someone wrote measure the KPIs achieved of the total. I'm sorry, I lost the message. Measure the KPIs achieved of the total KPIs actually supposed to be achieved. All right. Any other answers, guys? Okay, we're getting more answers now. Measuring the actual performance with the planned ones. Okay, say the goals weren't met. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Next slide, please. You can compare the personal performance with company expectation. All right. So all your answers are right, of course, but in every organization, there's a step-by-step approach to it. So that's what we're going to look at right now. So performance is measured by linking competencies for an individual's roles and responsibilities. What is competency? We'll definitely look at that down the line, but let's look at the process right now, right? So how is performance measured? At the start of the financial year, the reporting manager and reportees sit together, discuss and finalize the reportees' SMART goals for the year, which are aligned with the organization's objectives. Could anyone tell me what SMART goals are?
Specific, measurable, acceptable, realistic, and time frame.
Awesome.
A is,
Good to you.
can you try again? A is not acceptable. Can you try again?
Attainable, ma'am.
Right.
Achievable. Yeah, attainable.
All right. So that's the first step. The goals are set. What is the second step? The competency is relevant to that individual, depending on their roles and responsibilities, and the goals are assigned to them. Right. So the manager says, okay, these are your goals for the year. At the end of the day, at the end of the year, you need to achieve these goals. Now, how is a goal measured? It is measured using key results area, which is also known as KRA, and key performance indicators, also known as KPI. Right. Again, when we talk about performance, it's a rating scale. One of the most common rating scales used is behaviorally anchored rating system. And generally, this is a 3 to 5 scale. So your performance, the employee's performance is measured as 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. And like Radhika said earlier, performance is reviewed either quarterly, half yearly, or yearly, and now even per project. It depends on the organization. Next slide, please. All right, so just to describe what KRA and KPI are, so key results area are those things which are critical for an organization or employee to achieve. So some common KRAs for an individual level are quantity, quality, and use of time. And when we talk about KPI, it's a quantifiable measure, normally written in numbers, percentage, units, or observable indicators. So to put it simply, KRAs are the results, while KPI are the measures of results. So here's an example for you. Now the company has set a goal for the year. Company says we have to increase our net profit by 20%. Now when it comes down to a department, let's say sales department, in line with this target of company, their goal comes down to increasing their market share by 35%. Only if they do this will they achieve that 20% net profit. Now, when this is cascaded to an individual level, there's your KRA, KPI, and target. And again, in individual level, the measure is your quantity and quality. So in quantity, the KRA is to increase clients. KPI gives you the number. So KPI talks about the number of clients. And what is the target KPI? 20. So if, let's say, employee 1 gets 20 new clients, right? So they've met the target. What if an employee gets 25 new clients? How would their performance be rated? Are they underachieving the target? 25 new clients, guys.
Target is 20.
Overachieving.
Overachieving, right? So they have exceeded expectations. That's how we look at improving their performance. And what if they've gotten less than 20 new clients?
Underachieving.
They have underachieved. So they have not met expectations. These are the terms we use for measuring performance: not met, exceeded, and met. Right? Next slide, please. So, what do competencies? How do competencies help managers and reportees? So, it helps both managers and reportees to set and communicate clear expectations. At the end of the year, when the manager is giving feedback and gives the rating, the reporting should have a clear understanding of. I'm sorry, somebody else has started sharing it. I'm not able to see. Slide.
Now we are able to see you.
Right. Okay, so as I was saying, managers and reportees, when they have the discussion at the end of the year, the goals have already been set, the expectations have already been set. So this makes it easier for the manager to discuss performance with the reporter. The second point it talks about is to identify learning and development actions. So how does it help you do that? So you have your competencies, you say they've met it, they've not met it, they have exceeded it. If they've not met a particular goal or competency or KPI, that's when you tell them, okay, this is the learning opportunity for you, right? And third one, it talks about managing human resources effectively. So when you have your competencies in place, when you have your KPIs in place, when you have the entire performance management in place, you're able to better manage the resources in your organization. Right. Next slide, please. So how is performance management taken care of? Again, a step-by-step look. The first thing is the goal setting. We've talked about it. SMART goals are set. The second thing, regular one-on-one meetings and feedback sessions with the reporting manager. And some of us have already mentioned, it's not just about one-on-one feedback with the manager. There's also 360-degree feedback. There's something called 180-degree feedback. So you have a lot of options to get feedback about an individual's performance. And the third point that's important for performance management is periodic performance review. So again, we talked about this as well. And the last point is coaching and mentoring. One thing I forgot to mention here is training, of course. Training is definitely a part of performance management. If there is an area identified where an individual requires improvement, they can opt for training. So could someone quickly tell me what is the difference between coaching and mentoring?
I guess they're not yet aware.
Coaching is basically helping someone do a particular job. Mentoring is training them to do future jobs, like who's guiding them towards a particular path, career path.
All right.
That's mentoring. And coaching is to do a particular job, current job.
All right.
Coaching. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Coaching is more job oriented and mentoring is career oriented.
Right. Okay.
You're wrong. It's the other way around.
Any other answers? Okay, I believe there are no more answers. So just, okay, coaching is formal, mentoring is informal and more like guidance.
Coaching is performance oriented and mentoring is development oriented.
All right, so absolutely, right? So coaching is more to do with an individual's performance, feedback is given, and then it is short term to look at improving that particular area, right? And it's formal and it's very structured. Whereas mentoring is more informal. It looks at an overall development rather than looking at focusing on one particular aspect of work. It's more of an overall development. So these are certain factors that come into picture when we talk about performance management. Now we've talked about competencies quite a lot now. So now Swami is going to take us through what competency is and what are the different types. So over to Swami.
Hi guys. So competency as a textbook definition, it's a capability to apply a set of knowledge, skill and abilities required to successfully perform a critical work function. So to give you a brief, competency module as a part of the performance management system, competency separately is a very big subject to learn. So I was fortunate enough to work with Nandini ma'am to set competencies for our organization and to bring in a performance management system with the competency based module. So to generally give you a brief about this, whether you are a Fortunate 500 company or a small business or whatever it is proven that competency based module brings in a positive approach for any organization to be successful in the market. So you may tell me that we have a job description which is defined to do certain jobs. So it's okay. JD only describes what you have to do. Competency is something which focuses on how to do that task. So now all over the world, many companies have implemented this competency based module within their organizations because this is proven that it's a positive approach in increasing, like in developing the individual performance, not the company performance. So next slide, please. So to give you a brief about different kind of competencies which can be developed internally are the behavioral competency, which explains the softer skills of an individual. So when I say behavioral, we can speak about the communication part, something related to their individual improvements as such. So all these behavioral competencies will be defined to each designations and it will be linked to each designations. So the next comes the technical competencies. So this is something which is related to your job or the work what you do. So there are certain core competencies which will be required to do the technical activities in the company. So these competencies will be defined and it will be linked to your performance management system. And the next comes the leadership competency. So when I speak about leadership competency, this will be applicable to only employees who are above, who works as a more and above like a team lead or senior team lead or associate manager. So this level of employees will have this leadership competencies. Otherwise, it is only the behavioral and technical competency which will be defined and it will be linked to your performance management system. So next slide. So coming to the benefits of having a competency module in an organization. So there are many benefits. I'm briefing only few over here. So the first one is improving decision making. So if you have a competency based module developed in your organization, so it helps the senior leadership teams to evaluate the knowledge and the skill of all the members. So it helps them to analyze the gap between each individuals, and it helps them to like bring in certain trainings or certain courses. They can ask them individual to go through certain certifications or anything, so that it helps them to fill that gap. So it helps the management to bring in the helps them to make strategic organization decisions and influencing the company to prioritize their directions. So the next important thing is recruitment and retention standards. So this is something which is a costly decision in any of the organization when it comes to recruitment and retention standards. So having a competency based module, it helps the management to define as proper pay grades for each designation or each employee which we have, and the job titles which has to be given to the each individuals are where to keep that, in which level to hire that employee. So if you have a defined competency for each designations, so it helps you to take all these decisions, so you can maintain an equity within the company. There will be no bias systems maintained in the company. So the next is support continuous improvement. As I told you earlier, so this helps us to analyze the gap between each skills and each job what you are doing. So when this competency modules helps you to analyze the gaps between your capabilities and the required capabilities by the company. So by identifying this, it helps you to analyze what extra you have to do to fill that gaps. So it helps you to continuously improve yourself and improve your competencies and to be par with the company's or organizational goals. So it makes you to be on one hand extra compared to the other employees as such. So the next important thing, performance management system. So we have come with the traditional management accession systems where if you're good with your managers, you will get promotion, or if you're good with your managers, you'll get an extra hike. So that era is gone now. So each and every company has implemented this competency-based module in their performance management system. So if you are achieving that competency, you will get the promotion, you will get so much of hike or whatever it is. So that bias system will be killed inside the company. If you are capable of doing certain job, if you are capable of matching all the competencies which is assigned to you, you have got the promotion and you have got the hike what is required to you. So it brings in a transparency in your performance management system. So identifying job related development needs. So you'll be hired to do certain jobs. So you'll be doing it continuously. So if you want to go one step ahead of what you are doing routinely, so there are a set of competencies which is assigned to go to the next level. If you understand that set of competencies which you have achieved, which you want to achieve, so you can start learning and you can start developing your skills based on that competency. So it helps you to move on further in your particular job, or you can, it helps you to get promoted as in when you achieve that certain competency. So it helps you to develop individually also. So when you're developing individually, when you're achieving your competencies, when you're moving ahead in your company, every 2 years or 3 years you are getting promoted, you are getting new challenges within yourself, so automatically your job satisfaction will be increased. So these are the quite of important benefits if you have a competency based module in your performance management system. Next slide, please.
Yeah.
I will take over from here, or?
Yes, I will take over. Thank you, team. Thank you for taking the whole set of students through actually what we do. So as you all understood, like Swami was just mentioning, earlier the performance management system in companies used to be like, we all used to joke while we were studying HR that if my boss has had a argument with his wife, oh God, what will happen to my appraisal? So honestly, those days have gone. Now, there is also a time wherein now the bosses also should be open to get feedback, because that is how every person should be growing. So if that has to happen, a very transparent system of performance appraisal has to come into every organization. And I think the competency way is the best way to do it. At least that's what MMS does. So it's up to you as a student or a HR professional for any company to decide what is best for the industry or what is best for the company. So how this works is basically the core competency. Let's say, for example, our company has a particular competency which is called diversity and inclusion. Why diversity and inclusion? Because today there is no geographical boundaries to work anywhere, right? So if I'm sitting in Bangalore, I can work for any company out of North India, out of North America, out of South America. So diversity and inclusion is very, very important. What it does basically is it models and promotes organizations' principles of community and complies with the policies on diversity and non-discrimination. So I think as part of your studies, you would have seen many advertisements in the newspaper where they would have particularly mentioned that there is no bias towards any hiring, when there is an ad or anything. Certain times, certain countries require it as a statutory requirement to mention that there is no bias in hiring. There is no gender bias, there is no race bias. So this is mainly happening outside of India. But then today's world has global HR. You no longer are a local HR except for in a specific manufacturing industry. If you want to work, then there's very localized systems. But if you want to work out in the corporate industry out there, it's a very, very global industry, and you need to be very, very aware of what diversity and inclusion is. You cannot ask certain questions in certain countries as to which sector do you belong to, what's your personal life. But in India, it's a different scenario altogether. But today, diversity and inclusion is very important in India. And the competencies actually that is expected out of you is you need to demonstrate behaviors that include fairness, respect, inclusiveness, empathy, integrity, and ethical conduct, for example. And I think Radhika mentioned to you that she's a part of the POSH committee in our company. Why POSH committee today? It's a very big thing in the industry. Any industry, you need to have a POSH committee. POSH, what does it basically say? Prevention of sexual harassment. So like I already mentioned here, you need to demonstrate behavior that includes respect. So respect towards the female employee, and I wouldn't say sexual harassment is only towards a female employee. It can happen towards a male employee too. So a mutual respect and inclusiveness is very, very important when you're working in a corporate company. So each competency is defined this way. I'm just showing you, for example. So this will encourage that the company has a climate and culture where every person feels very accepted. They feel, okay, I'm part of this company. So initially, when I started my conversation, I mentioned to you about employee engagement. So these are certain philosophies that you need to have within an organization as a HR policy, which makes each employee feel very accepted. And they feel that I am having the freedom to air my views. I can say what can be changed, what cannot be changed. So these are certain things that you can bring in with a competency design within the organization. And this particular competency also ensures that the employees practice behavior that actually promotes diversity and inclusion in dealings. So when certain competencies are in the picture, if you go and ask any organization which is having this, they will have very specific rules which mentions in the policies that if you do not follow this, there are certain repercussions that you will have to face. Like probably you will get an initial warning letter, then probably you will be fined for whatever behavior that you are, and the final thing might be you'll be fired because you did not exhibit these of the few diversity and inclusion competency parameters within your behavior in the organization. So when you move, let's say, for example, you're all master degree holders right now. I'm assuming all of you are in the masters. So suppose you are in the final year. Next year, you venture out into the real world out there where you're working. You are responsible for creating policies and procedures, right? So I'm part of many HR groups where there are fresh HR professionals who are just brought into a startup and they said, create a policy. They are lost. They don't know what to do. So they reach out to seniors and they consider their mentors and say, now what am I supposed to do? What are the different policies that are needed? So all these, when you create the policies and everything, slowly the competencies start coming into the picture. What is it that as an organization I need as a competency? First of all, communication skills. So Swami was talking to you about the behavioral competency. So because of my policies, my company says I'm a global company. So how do I talk to somebody sitting in North America so that they understand what I'm trying to say? So communication is a key competency factor within our organization. So what all it leads to, it ensures that when we are interviewing, we gauge people who are able to communicate well, who are able to comprehend what we are trying to tell them, who are able to understand the instructions we give them. So that is part of it. So once they come in, when we are promoting people, they're getting into managerial roles or senior roles, they need to talk to clients. They need to talk to senior leadership team. They need to talk to multiple people across organizations or geographies. So do they have the communication skills again to ensure that they're responsible enough to take on that role, right? So then the next parameter would be a succession planning. You must all already heard of it. So any senior person, key positions in any company, they start identifying succession planning. So if this person moves up, there is a vacancy there. So who takes over that role? In today's technology, today's world, with all the pandemics happening, you never know what is waiting for me tomorrow morning. So suppose, God forbid, something happens, who's ready to take on my role? An organization cannot stop because the one X person is not available for X number of days. Or for whatever reasons, if that person suddenly quits, joins another organization, is the organization going to stop? No. So this is why succession planning comes into the picture. So when a person is being identified for succession planning, they take a look at the different competencies this person had versus what that person has, right? I think you must all be aware about the Tatas, right? They have a very, very strong succession plan in place. So they start grooming these managers or the CMDs, whomever they want to identify, 20 years ahead. So they get groomed over 20 years in different roles, and they are taught what needs to be done, what does not have to be done. So this is a very long, some companies have that. Some companies have a short-term succession plan. All this comes out of the competency. You got it? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm not able to see the slide. Anyway, so the competency plays a very major factor within our performance management system. So like I told you, we are in an industry for clinical research, right? So the different services that we offer to our clients is medical writing, we have pharmacovigilance, we have clinical statistical programming, then we have biostatistics. We have also started something called data science right now, where we help the real world data and we help the sponsor or our client understand real world data and present it to the Federal Drug Administration for approval of their drugs. So every time a blockbuster drug comes out, it's going to definitely help our sponsor company by making millions of dollars. So how do you arrive at all this data, right? So when we hire a person, ours is a very specific and very niche area of work that we do. So we can't just hire anybody who comes and say, I know how to write, I know something about biostatistics or biotech, can I join? No, we have competencies we have mentioned for every level of people that joins us. So we have a recruitment team within our HR where initially when the CV comes in, they start by gauging these competencies. So these competencies come into picture, like what Swami already mentioned, into recruitment, performance management. So what happens in performance management? I think Dr. Martin would agree with me when I say this, that certain times in corporate world, people get very upset that they're not promoted. My manager is biased. This brings in very transparency. So if an employee approaches you saying that I was not promoted for whatever reason, you are actually able to sit and have a very transparent conversation with all the parameters that we already have. Dipti and Radhika said 360-degree feedback. Then we have, why do we have all this? I'll come to that. So the competencies, you sit with them and say, your position, the company has defined X number of competencies. Suppose I'm a medical writer. I am supposed to have good writing communication skills, good knowledge about X kind of documents that I need to work on. I need to be aware of all the clinical research activities that are happening, knowledge about clinical research data, knowledge about what I'm supposed to do. So do you have all this? You tick it off with them. This, where you stand. So these are certain areas where you need to work on. So they are able to understand very transparently what I need to work on to move to the next level, right? So there is perfect clarity there. There is no vagueness or say, okay, my manager doesn't. There is no question of any manager liking you. So the next question I came to about why competency was used was also because, like I said, there is no about what the supervisor assumes, or it's not very subjective. Okay, I don't like you. I used to face this very often earlier in other industries that I worked, especially in the manufacturing areas, where a supervisor decides whether he likes or does not like an employee, and the grades or the hike is based on that. But this system, now that it has brought in, it gives clear transparency, and the supervisor has to be very clear when I say the communication is not good. What do you mean by not good? Is it not meeting this? Is it not meeting this? So it's a very, very transparent module that we use. And it is very important for our industry too, because we have very niche educated or very key people that we hire, and we need to explain to them. We cannot talk to them like a layman. We need to understand and explain to them where you stand versus this kind of requirement. If you need to move to the next level, what is it that you need to learn? So LMS and training plays a very key role within our organization, especially with performance management system. So our goals can be identified from these competencies. So I find that an ex-employee is having a gap in a particular competency, saying that the company requires this, but you are standing here. The company says you need to know 6, 7 documents, and unfortunately, you know only 4. So if you want to move to the next level, you need to learn more about the next 2 kinds of documents that you have to learn to write. So then the training plan comes into the picture for a supervisor, and they reach out to the training department and say, this person needs to get trained on these 2 kinds of documents. Can you please help them identify a mentor? So a training department takes up, identifies a mentor, and that person gets trained. So there is no question of telling me, you're telling me I don't know? Yes, I'm proving it you don't know. And if you want to move up, it is your choice. You need to work on these kind of factors. So these are certain things that come into the picture, especially in a corporate world, and especially in our organization, where we use competency modules very, very strongly to identify and do our performance management system. I would just like to take a small break here to open up for questions. Anybody has any questions? That is our organization. That is just a small part of our team. So any questions, please feel free to ask me anything you want to know. We're done with the slides. You can close it. So I have a very favorite saying among my colleagues. So we don't have questions for two reasons. One, either we didn't understand or we understood everything. So I'm assuming all of you understood. How can one be genuine in management? A very good question, sir. So I was talking about feedback. If you are a leader, generally you establish yourself as a leader by creating more leaders in the organization and not being insecure about your own role. So the bigger leader you are, more leaders you create within your, and the more genuine you are, the more you use such competency factors, because there it is very transparent. You don't have any bias towards any employee. How many ever employees report to you? You are the same across all of them. And the only single target that you will have is for them to grow. How do you help them grow? Is identify areas through competencies to tell them where you are lacking in, what you can do about it, and genuinely help them reach out and help them grow in that area. I hope I answered your question. Can you tell us some retention strategies followed in MMS? So I already mentioned that we have close to around 60% of the people who have completed 5 to 7 years within the organization. And one very basic thing that we followed from the day the organization started is having a very family kind of an atmosphere. So we never intended to grow the company beyond 300 to 500 within one geography. We have our foothold in Asia, which is India as the headquarters. We have offices in Hyderabad, European Union, London, there is an office. We have our presence in South Africa, and we are globally headquartered in Michigan, United States. So in every geography, we have made sure that we do not cross 500 employees. So there is a very familial feeling within the organization where each of us know the other person. We know about their family, we know what they do, what they don't do. I think there's some audio going on in the back. Can somebody mute themselves, please? So this is what we follow. So what happens when you have this kind of a feeling is you work with every employee towards their growth. You know what they want, what they don't want, and this encourages an organization or the employees within them to stay and work with the organization and give their best. Because when you're in a small organization, your recognition is very fast from the management. So that is our strategy to have employee engagement. So let me go back. How do you think we can eliminate or minimize bias during performance evaluation? So this is a very, very clear example. Competency system. If your competency system or a framework is very strong, I think we missed one slide where we explained exactly what each level needs to have with pertaining to a competency. When we share the slide, you can take a look at it next time. So it defines very clearly. If I'm in level 1, I'm an entry person. What are the competencies or skills that I need to have? When you have that defined very, very clearly, there is no question of bias coming into the picture at all, because you need to substantiate everything you're saying as a feedback to any employee. So that will help you eliminate or minimize bias. So what are the major things that needs to be taken care when it comes to employee relations and engagement? I would say be approachable as HR. So any person who joins a company initially, it's like when you have joined a new college or a new school, you're very lost. You don't know where to go to, whom to approach. Oh my God, what am I doing in this company? So that is when you need to reach out genuinely as HR professionals and show them, here we are. You'll come and reach out to us, whatever it is that you have questions with. I might not be able to give you a solution for everything. At least I will be able to give you a direction where you need to go, right? So that is a genuine way to actually relate to employee relations and engagement. And our team, we are 7 of us within the team. Every single one of us has a goal that we reach out to every new joinee who's come in. And surprisingly for us, we have touched 50 new employees during this pandemic, and our team has been able to reach out to every single one of them. And the general feedback we get is, we don't find a better HR team in any other organization. So that is the genuine reach you need to know. Reach out and connect to an employee. Talk to them, understand what their requirement is, what their problems is mainly, what is it that I can help you with. Put them onto a genuine person, and you will see that the employee relationship and engagement with the employee would be fantastic after that. How do we create a competency mapping? Very good question. It is a course in itself. I think you can find out who is offering that course. That will help you really learn what competency mapping is all about. So any other questions? Can we do specialization? Yes, please go ahead. Yes.
Ma'am, actually, it was asked the difference between coaching and mentoring. I had mentioned that coaching is job oriented and mentoring is career oriented. And you said it's the other way around.
Yes. Mentoring is basically very specifically focused on jobs. When you join an organization, you're given a mentor who trains you on what you're supposed to be doing. It's very, very career, job oriented. Coaching is something, it is a very different concept which is coming into the industries today, as especially for HR, where you actually help the person generally through life. It's not just about career. That is generally it takes you through life. You can reach out to that person, and that person actually talks to you and makes you come out with solutions yourself. There is nobody telling you what to do. You are being guided to do what you want to do, basically. The key here is wanting to do what you want to do. So that's the major difference between mentoring and coaching. You got your answer, Parthivi?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I got it.
Okay, so somebody here was asking me how to treat employees impartial. I think I already answered when I said there can't be bias with competency system of appraisal, right? So will bell curve method suit Indian culture? Bell curve we've never practiced. Why? Because you cannot always slot people as 5 or 4. There are various ratings that you get, and it is a forceful grading of somebody as low or high. Certain companies have a philosophy where only 20% of the people can be in the 5. It's a curve like this. 5 can be here, the rest have to be here. It's not justified. There can be people who are here. So it can be a 3 rating, 3.5 rating. And just because somebody has a 3 rating for a 5 doesn't mean they're bad. It's just that as managers or HR professionals, you reach out to them and try to understand how they will learn better and improve their ratings the next time. So this is how competency and performance management is actually helping out the organization.
That is one of the oldest method actually. Now none of the companies are following the bell curve methods.
Yes, it stopped totally. It's not a very fruitful method, or it actually a bias method that they create, because I want to have 20%, I will ensure 20% of them only get a very good rating. The rest don't get it, because then I'm answerable to management, which is not fair, right? So that's your explanation. So if an employee is promoted, how does his appraisal? It's the same, evaluated the same way that he was doing in the last position. But the only thing is his competencies change. So let me say, for example, Sachin Tendulkar. Sachin Tendulkar is a fantastic batsman, right? But he never performed when he became a captain, because the stress of being a captain sometimes is not acceptable. So it's a certain times what we do when somebody is a very good individual performer, we decide to convert that person to a manager. But that person never performs as a manager, because his competencies as an individual player was much different than his competencies as a manager. Being a manager involves a lot more other things that you need to do than being an individual performer. So sometimes when they get promoted, the things might be different, but then as a manager, they need to get down to that employee's level, understand where their key lies, and then work with them to help that they progress. So what is the difference between mentoring and inducting? Okay, so Dr. Ganesh, mentoring, like I said, is a very specific role where, suppose I'm joining now as a HR executive 1. There's a senior HR executive. So the senior HR executive actually mentors me in what I am supposed to do in my role. Induction, at least this is within MMS that I'm talking about. Induction means I have different teams and I'm supposed to be working in my role as a new employee with different teams. So each team member will take me through the processes of that particular team, what I am supposed to do as an employee of MMS with that team. Suppose I'm supposed to raise time logs. The project management team will come and induce me or induct me into the project management processes, what I'm supposed to do there. The quality team will come in and tell, as a quality, how I am related in my role towards quality. HR person will come in and teach me what I'm supposed to do, what are the policies I'm supposed to follow. So this exactly is called induction. So mentoring and induction are very similar. Induction involves many other departments coming in and showing them what the new world means. Mentoring shows me in my particular role, what am I going to do, and one person is going to take me through that. I hope I answered your question, Dr. Ganesh. So employees newly recruited take time to open up. In such a case, how do we understand their needs? So when somebody asks me about what is employee engagement to MMS, I already mentioned this is where we as HR professionals come into the picture. So if suppose a newly recruited person comes up, some are shy, some are outbearing. There are different kinds of people that join us. How do you reach out to them? Talk to them, become their friend, understand what is it that they need. And then if they have issues, then transfer it as is to the technical team and say, this person has this issue. They're having a problem with training. Can you look at how things can be changed? So you just need to keep changing the scenario as and when a new employee, and everything, can't be gauged on the same apple. I gave this apple, you eat that apple, that person ate. No, this person eats an apple differently. I bite it, somebody cuts it, somebody chops it. Each person eats an apple differently. How do you want to give the apple to them is how you help them open up, right?
We do
So
have a
what?
policy of 30 days survey and 60 days survey with the new joinees. So it
Yes.
helps us to understand what exactly they need or what extra they need in the company. So this is
So
where it is helping us.
correct. So the 60-day survey that he mentioned now, we have questions like, how did you like the recruitment process? Did you feel isolated? Did our recruiters help you? So what are you thinking about the policies now? Do you think we should bring about a change? So when you ask them such questions, they feel very important. My opinions are being evaluated and given importance to. So these are certain things that can make a new recruit open up, right? So what is your take on OKR? Can you please emphasize what OKR is? I'm not familiar with what you were asking. Ms. Gayatri?
It's objective and key result, I think.
Yes,
Sorry?
yes, sir. Objective key results.
So you already created a key result area for them, right? So when you set a key result area, you link it with the goals. The goals are smart, like Deepti explained to you. They are specific, measurable, achievable, result oriented, and time bound. So it is very specific. So objective key result areas, when you talk about smart goals, they're very well related. They know what to achieve, what is the time that is given to me to achieve, and how I'm going to measure it as a manager. So your OKR is answered there. Am I right, Ms. Gayatri?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So how a team leader can create in the minds of team members, as one among them is behavioral competency we introduce for a leadership competency. So if you are a team leader, how do you talk to them? So you had a team leader before you got promoted to be a team leader. My general philosophy that I tell our employees is, you did not like certain things in your supervisor, so don't become that when you become a supervisor. You automatically, your team members start liking you. So that is something that we always need to remember. Never give to people what you don't want to be given to you. Irrespective of you're a leader, you're a HR, you're a lower employee, this applies to everyone across the organization. Is it advisable to get specialized in employee relations in specific out of the whole HR activities? So it depends on how big an organization it is, if you want to get any specialization. In our organization, all of our HR team members know about every aspect of HR because we are a 200-member organization. So it doesn't make sense to have somebody only for comp and ben, somebody only for statutory. So we have multiple people doing multiple things. And the target is, end of the day, when they walk out of MMS, they have to feel very satisfied that I learned so many things in this organization and gave me a complete idea of what HR is all about. Right? So it is up to you what you want, which organization you are joining to get specialized. There are some organizations where only posh people, they don't do anything other than taking care of sexual harassment cases. But if you need cases, that many cases, you need 20,000 employees in that organization. Only then you will get a, day full of 8 hours where you're handling only sexual harassment cases. Or in manufacturing industries where they have only statutory related people, because day in and day out, you're only doing documentation for the organization. So how interested initially when you start off, it's nice. You need to understand what PF is about, what ESI is about, how much am I going to learn out of it, because it's a key aspect of your HR knowledge. But after a point, is that what you want to do? Right? So this is very important for you to take up super specialization. So I think I've answered all the questions we're coming on chat. In chat, anything else? I'm open. So before somebody else asks me a question, like I already mentioned in my introduction, I am a certified ICF coach and I specialize in mentoring women. And also I mentor a lot of lady students. That is our specialization. Any of you feel that you need guidance, please reach out to me. It's pro bono. I feel it's something I can give back to society by helping guide junior team members or students who want to go out into the world. So I think Ramachandran has my number. Take it from him and feel free to reach out to me for whatever questions you might have. How to develop team members as future leaders. Dr. Ganesh, that is actually what I would say, a culture of your organization that you need to build. So make it a part of their KRA, bring it under the competency where you say, if you need to move up to that level, these are the competencies you mandatorily need to have to get into that. So once you realize that they are taking this, now Infosys was an example where they had leadership academy set up formally, where you need to undertake this many trainings before you get on to the next level. So that is how future leaders were created, and Tata is also following that. A very, very strong message that Tata sends, that all these people who have to move up have to undergo this kind of trainings so that you're ready to face the role or the situations in that role, and you're ready to handle any number of people. So that is how you develop team members as future leaders. And one more thing is, you need to be very open to take feedback as supervisors, because if you create an open environment, people working with you are ready to take on any role that you want them to do. What the employee can do if he is not satisfied, they can approach the next level, skip level. Usually in a corporate world, that's allowed. Suppose me and my supervisor are having an argument about what they think about me and I am not thinking, I can refer to their supervisor. And that person comes into the picture, tries to analyze from both the sides and gives the verdict. And that is it. You cannot go beyond that. And what happens usually, even after that, an employee is not satisfied with the appraisal, they just quit. So you need to see whether how important that employee is, how much you can help them out. And these are certain things. It gets referred to HR. So HR needs to analyze all this and see how they can help the employee. Any more questions? So I think we don't have any more questions, right? So thank you very much. I enjoyed sharing my knowledge with all of you. How to make employee appraisal genuine, I think I already spoke about it. In the competency system, it's very genuine, very transparent. There's no scope for bias or supervisor subjective thoughts about the employee. Okay. So thank you, folks. It was wonderful talking to you. Yes, Manish?
Yes, ma'am. I have one question, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I want to say, ma'am, in which field I can make a career in performance management system, ma'am?
Performance management system is there in all fields. There is no organization which doesn't have performance management system. Unless if you don't like it, join a government organization. There, performance management means your boss tells you what your grade is. That's it. You have no other choice.
Yes, ma'am. Any
So if you
field we can.
specialize in PMS, it's applicable in every field and every industry.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And ma'am, one other questions, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. How can I examine of performance of supervisor in performance management system, ma'am?
So I think Deepti already talked to you about this, Radhika and Deepti. It's called a 360-degree appraisal. Okay, this is one of the areas where we also have it within our organization. So feedback doesn't always means top down. It also means bottom up. I need to tell my supervisor sometimes why I'm uncomfortable talking to them. What's something about them that I don't like? And there are areas where I like my supervisor a lot in the way they're being a manager to me. And I should feel free to tell them that too. Everybody needs motivation in their life, right? Even your supervisor would need it. So the 360-degree appraisal actually gives you, like the word itself says, my peers, my supervisor, and my junior. Everybody is talking to me about me. So I get a complete picture from my supervisor, what everybody thinks about me and which are the areas I need to work to improve myself. Did that answer your question, Manish?
Yes, ma'am. I'm satisfied, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. Any more questions from anybody?
There is one question. A person having an experience in a different field and interested to work as an HR.
So good question. I wanted to address this in the beginning. So I have a lot of students or freshers who come to me and say, I want to be a part of HR team. So my first question to them is, why do you want to be HR? Because HR is not an area where I didn't get a job anywhere, so I want to become HR. No, HR is very, very challenging job, especially in today's times where you need to be updated with the latest technologies constantly. If I need to talk to somebody with a new service who's coming into an organization on data science, I need to be aware a little bit about what's happening in that field. Otherwise, I have no competency to talk to that person about it. So I need to be constantly updated. Today, every day, other day, something is getting digitized. How familiar am I with the digitization? So if you want to have a very high employee engagement, do I have the capacity to reach out to that person and talk to that person? So engagement comes, devotion comes into that. And really, you know, HR is a very passionate field. And it's also a field where you get the least recognition from an organization. You put in a lot of hard work. And I think my team here agrees with me when we say that we hardly get recognized for what we do. So if you are somebody who is very keen on getting recognition and I want people to identify, you should not be part of HR. I'm sorry, that's the real truth out there in the corporate world.
To add to what Nandini said, I am a prime example. I have done my bachelor's in genetics and I have worked in different fields and now I'm in the HR field.
Thanks, Deepti. Thanks for adding to that. So I'm assuming all the questions are over. If you still have questions after the session, like I said, Ramachandran has my mail ID and my number. Feel free to reach out to me. So I would request you to text me before you call me so that I'm available to answer your question. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful session, brought out all the skills that I had to about personal performance management. HR is a wonderful field. All of you should do very well in that. And please be passionate about what you do. That's all you need to be as HR. So thank you very much and wishing you all the very best in your future ahead.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I would welcome Jwalanti to render the vote of thanks.
Ramchandran, I would also appreciate you. Please take a feedback for the session from your team and share it with us. We would like to know how our presentation was taken by all the students. And if possible, please share the recording of the session with us, please.
Sure, ma'am. The recording will be uploaded in YouTube, ma'am. I'll share you the link.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am.
And thanks my MMS team for being with me and giving a wonderful presentation.
Before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. I, Dinesh Balaji of 2nd MA HRM, take this wonderful opportunity to thank our esteemed speaker. So we are the future HRs who really work on understanding provided by a lively speaker. Sharing is caring is an Eldo's proverb. True to this thought, I would like to thank our PG Department of HRM's pillar, our SME, Dr. N.C. Martin for arranging this webinar, and our Professor Subhatini for her support to organize this webinar, providing us with the enlightening tour to the pragmatic arena of HR. Finally, I extend my gratitude to participants from various professions and students. Kindly fill up the feedback form, which is provided in the chat below with your name and email ID. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you. Have a great day.